So as most of you are aware, today is the celebration of MahaShivaratri in the so-called Hindu world. For me, it is a celebration of union and balancing and communion of all that we perceive in the duality as opposites. It is the bringing together of yin and yang. It is the coming together of the Adi Yogi and the feminine divine in order to make a householder of that which is aware of the universe and lives the austere life. And it is the making of a goddess from the mere daughter of a king. These are all of the stories that come together with MahaShivaratri. And for those of you who know the mythology of Shiv, then you will know that he goes through a very long and hard journey of enduring communion or marriage with so-called human wife until she is reborn as Parvati and he is able to create a more spiritual union with Parvati. In the midst of the story, there are some very important things to notice. The one is that nobody is able to move into a balancing in of yin and yang unless there is a commitment to the being balanced in the first place. We create a resistance to balance when we cling to what we think we are right about. We create a resistance to balance when we actually enjoy the attention of the imbalance. Caroline Myss wrote a very interesting book about why people don't heal and how they can. And she talks as a medical diagnostic, as an intuitive medical diagnostic, about this human psyche and the psychology of being sick. This is one really good example of why we cling to our imbalances and create dis-ease in our resistance to balancing in. The art of balancing in is the art of healing. And so when we cling to our attachments, we negate our immune systems, both energetically and physically. In the story of Shiv and Sati, he is clinging to his austerity as the Adi Yogi, meaning the first yogi, the head yogi, who is aware and spends most of his life alone and in meditation, sitting on a mountain and inaccessible. But when Shiv is in that position, he is unable to bring balance to the world. And that means that creation itself begins to suffer. That creation moves into what we call the age of ego, which is presented by Sati's father. But when he is presented with Sati, he is reluctant to let go of this position, and he doesn't want to marry a woman who is unaware, a woman who herself comes from ego games. He wants to marry somebody who is his equal, or who is able to embrace his life, meaning he is unwilling to change. And so these disparities in their relationship lead to tragedy until Sati sets herself alight, is consumed by the element of fire, and it is a long while later that she is reborn as Parvati. And even then, the Lord husband puts her through her paces as Parvati and insists that she must learn, she must raise her vibration in order to come into balance with him for their union. The whole way through the story, you get a clear understanding that there is the light side and the shadow side. And we talked about some of this in the last week meditations, where the light side and the shadow side must learn to confront each other, must learn to come into balance with each other, and then serve as the instruments of each side of ourselves so that we may actually work for ourselves and for the good of humanity instead of reacting from our shadow selves. But when the light side and the shadow side of ourselves becomes instruments of our living, become tools that we use in our decision making, that means that we are living from our consciousness of oneness within ourselves, that we know that we have management of our minds and our decision-making capacities. So this balancing in that we're talking about is about taking on management of yourself as a doing being, and as a thinking being, and as a feeling being, and as an emoting being, so that you create union within yourself, put yourself through your own paces, and even test yourself that this union may be one of balance. Even while Shiv is teaching Parvati and sending her teachers to raise her vibration and eradicate all of the hindrances of ego from her very human system, he too is learning. He is learning to be flexible. He is learning to adapt. He is learning how to get off his high mountain perch and be a householder, and how to concern himself with the little details of everyday life. He is learning to concern himself with the concerns of the physical body, with the concerns of the tribe of his warriors and the ghouls in the cemetery. He is learning to concern himself with the little details that fill the universe and make it whole, complete. He is also learning to share himself, to speak his truth, to declare himself and bring his feelings and his emotions into play. And in that regard, the Lord Husband is presented very much as being one of those typical He-Man sorts. Because it is the nature of Yang energy to focus on one thing at a time and to hide that which creates a vulnerability. While it is the nature of Yin energy to flow into everything at one time and make everything more and bring it to the surface to be seen, to be explored and discovered. Even just the explanation of that difference between Yin and Yang is 2 sentences for Yang and a whole paragraph for Yin. This is the essence of the difference between the two, and they must come into balance. So the story of Shiv and Parvati and their union that is celebrated at MahaShivaratri as a wedding celebration is actually the story of each of us coming into balance within ourselves, of each of us making a commitment in our relationship with ourselves, holding our yin and yang at the ready in order to serve the highest good of all parties concerned, especially I, the soul, in service to God. And then the story of Shiv and Parvati is a lovely story for couples generally, because there is a commitment that says, whatever it is you bring to this relating, I accept. Whatever it is I am able to share with you, I share. Whatever it is that we need to create together, we create it together, knowing that all creation is dependent upon a solid and stable union. And between every couple that is creating a family, that is moving forward and building a quality of life together, this understanding is necessary. It is not just that we move in together and have great sex and go on holidays and, deal with each other's families and jobs and friends. What couples are doing is bringing themselves into a union where all creation, that which remains in their potential to be lived in all of the future steps together, is in their power. And a stable union makes it possible for all creation to be realized. And this is why union and communion are some of the most difficult things for the human ego to manage. We resist coming into balance within ourselves, and we resist coming into balance with others. We are quite eager for others to come into balance with us because we are right and we know the way, but we are very reluctant to let go of our rightness and come into balance with others. So one of the practices that the Lord Husband shows me that his wife put him through was that he had to practice being a wife for what we would call a month and he called an eternity. And in practicing to be a goddess, he had to find his tenderness, his nurturing, his caring for all beings that was expressed in a completely different way to Shiv, the Supreme Being who is compassionate of all beings. And he shows me that the biggest difference between the two was that in being compassionate with all beings, he was still aloof. He was still the Supreme Being separate from them. But when he has to take the position of the goddess, and he has to see the world and experience the world through her eyes, and more importantly, through her heart, then he begins to be at one with that which he cares about, at one with the beings who require his nurturing. Then he is part of it. He is not aloof from it. Both states hold a state of detachment that make it possible for him to be strong and stable and present and supportive and serving. But the one is a protective stance, while the other is an all-giving stance, where the burdens of the world become her and she holds the space. For him, he rises above the burdens of the world and fixes it from that high vibration. And so the Lord Husband has learned how to be a householder in his wife's presence and how to support her when she has to hold the world in her hands. I like this story because it reminds me that I am both, that we are all both, that we can veer and we can choose to come from our detached, rise above itself in order to keep something in balance, or that we can participate, we can get completely involved, and we can hold that space from within ourselves, even as it breaks our hearts to be fully present with it. Wisdom tells us which one to choose. Wisdom and experience tells us when to bring that energy to the fore and implement it for those specific circumstances. And that kind of wisdom requires awareness. It requires a balancing inside self so that you have the capacity to implement one or the other. And by one or the other, I mean the one that removes you from a situation and allows you to rise above it, or the other, meaning that which consumes you until you have contained it. Both of these possibilities live within us. This is the duality. We are always living all of the possibilities and the extremes simultaneously. And at MahaShivaratri, we ask, we pray, and we hold the faith that everything also exists within us in balance, in the 0 point, which is the no-thingness of all things. Now, the other day when I was talking to Rama, he introduced me to something new and I got so excited. I have to say thank you, Rama. This has like been a highlight of my week, despite birthday and MahaShivaratri and everything else, because he introduced me to a religious entity that I didn't know existed called Tirupura Sundari. And after the discussion with Rama, I sat down quietly and I tried to feel this energy. And she kept coming through with all sorts of information and all sorts of energy. And I thought, finally, I am seeing and feeling the divine feminine, the Shiv that is the divine feminine. And so I have to say to all of you, just as I said to Rama then, when we talk about Shiv, we are talking about the all-pervading consciousness of the universe that is, and that it exists in oneness. When I talk about Shiva, and I am talking about this deity, this supreme being who is regarded as one of the threesome in the Hindu pantheon of deities, and is Parvati's husband, and has children, and has all this mythology associated with him. There are two different levels of the same being. And finally, when I was talking to Rama, and he introduced me to this other divine feminine, I see as a consciousness how the Adi Shakti energy, how Shiva's energy can be expressed as a sacred divine feminine. So I fully expect that in the months ahead, especially after MahaShivaratri today, that we're going to be meeting more of this other energy. So stay tuned to that. In the meanwhile, coming into balance between now and the equinox is part of our spiritual work. Becoming aware of where it is you are out of balance is part of your spiritual work. And then consciously working at bringing yourself into alignment. Even if it means a little bit of beating yourself up inside in order to chastise or reprimand yourself, to bring yourself back to the 0 point. Wherever it is you are stretching yourself out to or creating discomfort and distress for yourself, this is the time to start coming back to the big fat 0 at the middle of the number line. So today's meditation is going to be hosted by Shirdi Baba, because he is a great devotee of Shiv, and one really can't expect Shiv to host the meditation when he is busy being adored. So let's take a deep breath in and begin work. Okay. A nice deep breath in. Let us get grounded. Make sure that you are fully present. And in your mind's eye, I want you to not just feel or see yourself putting down roots. I want you to see or feel the earth rising up to meet you. Feel the earth energy rising up and sending tendrils of energy onto your limbs, onto your legs. Tendrils of energy that clasp and embrace and hold you close to the earth, but do not imprison you. That they are just gently keeping you grounded and bringing the sacred energy of the earth, the grounding energy of the earth, to various parts of your body while you are sitting in stillness. You may even imagine or sense or feel that you are sitting exactly as a yogi would, and that the tree or the plants around you are growing onto you, that they are infusing you with their earthing energy, and that they are infusing you with their growing energy, as well as the energy of the sun and the air as they absorb it out of the environment. That even as they nourish and nurture themselves, they are nourishing and nurturing your physical body as part of the earth. You may feel yourself to be in a symbiotic relationship with the earth and the plants and the trees, and establish your oneness with creation. And just breathe gently, feeling the energy of the plants and the earth supporting you and nurturing you. And there in your mind's eye, I want you to imagine or sense or feel yourself sitting in front of yourself. Put your twin self in front of you. I am in relationship with myself. Mirror yourself to yourself. And when you have clear details of yourself seated in front of you, in exactly the same position, wearing exactly the same clothes, with exactly the same facial expression, with exactly the same posture and attitudes and emotions. Let the picture in your mind grow more detailed as I list all of these attributes of your identical self. Make it as clear as possible, so clear that it feels like you can reach out and touch yourself. So clear that you can breathe yourself in. And there in your mind's eye, check whether you are smiling at you. Are you pleased to see yourself? Does the self mirrored for you have a voice? And if so, is it your own? Does it speak to you respectfully and complimentarily, or does it nag and complain, or not acknowledge you at all? Just pay attention to your mirrored self and get fully connected with it. There in your mind's eye, take it in, absorb it from the top of its head to the tip of its toes. Check that it is as grounded as you are. And then very deliberately raise your eyes to look yourself in the eye, to simply gaze into your own eyes as the windows of your soul, and feel, see, sense, know what is reflected there. Do your eyes sparkle a message of hope, or love, or joy? Do they send a message of quiet concern? What are your eyes revealing about you to you? And even as you gaze into your own eyes, is your third eye automatically responding to this communication? Until there are 3 points at which you are able to see yourself. A little triangle of energy connecting your insight and inner sight as you connect to your mirror self. Stay focused. Stay with yourself. Become as connected as possible, eye to eye. Stay as connected as possible with your physical eyes and your third eye. And just breathe gently and keep that connection flowing. I see myself clearly. I see myself honestly. I see myself through the eyes of love. Just gaze at yourself and let your eyes speak back to you. Let them reveal you to you. Be in communion with yourself. And just breathe. Check if there is anything behind the first impression. If there is anything behind the first twinkle of hope and the first twinkle of joy, or the first anxiety or concern, if there are any clouds behind the twinkles, and any twinkles behind the clouds, get a feel for what your eyes are revealing to you as you gaze at yourself. Do they reflect a need that you have been ignoring? A human need on the physical plane, or the emotional plane, or the mental plane, or the spiritual plane? Do your eyes tell you something about yourself that you have kept hidden, ignored, or neglected? That you have avoided seeing when you have looked in the mirror? That you have deliberately not chosen to know? Here in this private space, be honest, be truthful. Allow the feelings from within you to rise up to meet the energy of the knowledge in your eyes. Let the windows of your soul give you a clear picture inward. I am in integrity with myself. The truth that I am is revealed to me. Just feel yourself showing you, even declaring to you what is a priority right now. Let it show you what you can surrender. Let it show you what you can stretch out for, what you can reach for. Let it show you what your deepest emotional needs are that hinder your physical plane progress and shackle your mind. Gaze into yourself as if you are gazing into a crystal ball and see that which you are creating for yourself. What have you put in place that will rise up to meet you as you move forward? Gaze at yourself as the cosmos, all of the stars, shining in the heavens, creating a light that is beautiful and attractive and present. see that light in your own being. Gaze at yourself as the creator and the destroyer of self, as the all-pervading consciousness and source of your own universe. Gaze at yourself. There is nowhere else to look. There is nothing else to see. Everywhere you are projecting yourself onto others in order to see yourself better. So gaze at yourself. Where you live in the heart of God, you must see yourself clearly, that the heart of God may live in you. Gaze at yourself. In this sacred space, reveal yourself to you. And if you cannot trust yourself with your own vulnerabilities, and you cannot trust yourself with your own insecurities, and you cannot trust yourself with your own dreams and yearnings and desires and potential, who else is there? Be grateful for yourself as you gaze at you. See yourself being present for you. See yourself being present with you. More present than any notion of God that you may carry around. More present than any notion of others. Gaze at yourself and feel. Are you soft or hard? Are you open or closed? Are you silk or sandpaper? Even to you, gaze at yourself and see where is your laughter and where are your tears, and are they not in the same place? Just gaze at yourself. There is no one else. And while you are looking at yourself, let your gaze drift a little, that you may sense or feel all of the other centers, your heart center, and solar plexus, and sacral center, and base chakra, your throat chakra, your crown chakra. Are they whispering? Are they sending energy towards you now that you are paying attention to what you have to say to yourself? Now that you are paying attention to what your bodies know and feel, what they have gathered on your behalf, feel if there is a communication from any one of those centers to inform your relationship with yourself. If there is information coming from anywhere in your auric field to strengthen your knowledge of yourself, to strengthen your management of your current situation, to strengthen or guide the decisions you are making. When you need to choose, go to yourself. There is no greater source of the best possible wisdom to guide your choices. Make friends with yourself, that you may seek your own wisdom. And take a moment to feel that wisdom living in every aspect of your being, whispering through your subtle energy to keep you aligned with yourself. Listen, feel, connect fully. Become your own confidant. Become your own partner. And let all of the energy centers become open and connected to yourself and your mirrored self. Feel the flow from base chakra to base chakra, sacral chakra to sacral chakra, solar plexus to solar plexus, heart to heart, throat to throat, third eye to third eye, crown to crown. Feel all of the energy of the energetic spine becoming aligned. And feel how automatically, instinctively and intuitively, your body will seek balance. That the left side must be balanced with the right side. And that even in your mirrored self, the left side falls into balance with the right side, showing you the mirrored effect. And if you like, you may reach out and hold your own hand, feeling the flow of energy from the left side to the right side, and from the right side to the left side. And feel for yourself if it is an equal strength, if the flow itself is equally intense, equally strong. And if it isn't, just hold your own hands and breathe and let it come into balance. I am balanced in my relationship with myself. I relate to myself as a balanced being, and I interact with the world from a state of balance. The duality and I create oneness. I am aware of my own duality and I choose balance. My heart and mind work in balance. I think and feel and act in balance. And just focus on that flow between self and self. And remind yourself as that flow intensifies, everywhere I go, there I am. When I close my eyes, there I am. Before I open my eyes to any new dawn, there I am. And everywhere I am at one with self. And just breathe gently and let all of the energy fall into place. Let the energy of the ground and the trees and the plants that were earthing you and keeping you gently tethered to the earth as an incarnated being once more flow through you and become a focal point as we let the vision of you dissipate into the actuality of you on the physical plane. Become more and more aware of your body and the feeling of it being balanced, of being more present with yourself, of being in a more openly consultative, communicative relationship with yourself. Then you may set a clear intention to maintain this commitment with yourself, to maintain the partnership with yourself. I have a healthy relationship with myself that serves all other relating. In my oneness with self, I bring forth my oneness with the divine. Feel the left side of your body and the right side of your body and check that they are balanced and equally grounded. And then very gently bring yourself back to this moment, here and now.